Alright guys and gals, here we are with another Science Toon video. This one is the T6 Nautilus class, the fleet variant. As you can see, I'm currently using the 23rd century skin, which is actually pretty nice. It's a nice little golf ball looking thing. It really does show up the name of the ship on the back and the front rather well, easily readable. As you can see, mine is the USS Starkiller. But yeah, this is a pretty nice little ship. It's got some flexibility. It's not as science-y as the Eternal class, but it does some good stuff. All right, so what we're gonna do is do the same breakdown of the build as the last video, but this time I promise there is going to be a showing of the traits and the DOFs used for this build. Basically, it's all the same stuff except for the consoles. Now we're running this console here, which comes with the ship, the Plasmonic Leech, all of the same exotic particle focusers with the exotic particle field exciter. We're still running the Connie console, which is a really nice boost to exotic damage, and I found a nice little trick with it that can be very useful for slow boats. As always, the constriction anchor is part of that, the timeline stabilizer for the enhanced firing cycles and extra cooldown on the bridge officer abilities, and then, of course, the chronometric capacitor for the 4-piece bonus. Same gear here and same weapon layout as the previous video. We did, however, make some changes to the skill tree since the last video, and I'm going to show those right here. I took out the torpedo points and I put them into the impulse, which sped up the ship quite a bit, and it's really interesting to see it. I also took out the 1 point in the shield mastery because you don't really need it, especially if you're doing ISA runs a lot. And I stuck that into drain infection for my other builds, because my other builds use tachyon beam and some other little drain abilities. So yeah, it's an interesting little setup here. But as you can see, if you scroll down, you can see all the skill points I'm using. And if you need to see them, like I said in the least previous video, hit the pause. You can see which ones are which and where to stick them all. Take pictures if you need to. Now let's go here. As you can see, I'm still running the Temporal Operative full primary and the Strategist as the secondary. And then the traits, we're going to go through these. I'm going to do the same thing I did in the previous video and just scroll through them. If you need to read them a little further, just hit that pause button. But yeah, I kind of wish that I was an alien on this character, but I made a Vulcan back then, so I stuck with it. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of controllability in here, a lot of boosting of science stuff and all that good natured stuff. And now we get back to our starship traits. The exotic modulation is a really good boost to exotic damage. It's a 20% for 15 seconds anytime you use any of your temporal operative abilities or directed energy modulation, which is not on this build. But since I run a lot of temporal operative abilities, I can trigger this like 100% of the time, so it's pretty nice. Then there's the time to kill, which anytime I use a science officer ability gives me a 10% all damage, which affects my exotics as well. Stacks up to 3 times for 15 seconds, and as you can see by what's currently enhancing, all of that stuff will trigger that ability, and I can stack that pretty well as well. And then, of course, numerical superiority. I'm using that for the all damage boost because it boosts more of my exotic damage, and if you're in a good team environment where everybody's targeting on the big targets, you're going to get the full use out of this. Then, of course, there's Checkmate. I just added this one recently, and I kind of like it, because every time I pop a Gravity Well, which is usually on global cooldown, I get 30% exotic damage boost for 15 seconds, which is really nice. And it affects all of my exotic abilities, not just a few things. And then, of course, the highly specialized trait, which anytime you use a specialization seat, bridge officer power, like the temporal abilities or your command abilities or pilot abilities, any of those specific types of abilities will trigger this and give you a nice boost to your hull restoration skill, your exotic particle generator skill, which is what we're using it for, and then your weapon specialization, which gives you more crit chance. It stacks up to 5 times, so you can get plus 15 each, and I have found that with the abilities I'm using, the multiple temporal abilities, I can get this off pretty good. It works very well. All right, now that you've seen the traits, that I'm not hiding anything from anybody, we'll go down to your space reputation, because this is the only really important ones. I'm running the particle generator amplifier, which is more bonus exotic damage, precision, which is crit chance, targeting systems, which is severity, the aux power configuration, so more aux power gives you more all damage and more accuracy, but accuracy is not really a factor anymore. And then the chrono capacitor array, I'm running with this for now. I'm testing it out. It gives another 7.5% bridge officer ability recharge speed, so you can get more of your stuff down to global really fast. And it tends to work out pretty well so far. So I'm testing it out and seeing how I like it. But let's go on to our stations here. As you can see, most of the science abilities are the same from the previous build. Only with this ship, you get a tactical lieutenant commander and a tactical ensign seat. So I threw in a chemosite because, extra little chemosite damage here and there. And I'm running Fire at Will 3 with Beta and Tactical Team. Now the engineering seat is a little bit less limited. It's 1 less seat than the Eternal, but I'm running in Tropic Cascade in there, and then the evasive or emergency powered engines for the extra speed boost. But yeah, it's not a bad little build. I broke 100k with it in ISA. You'll see that run here shortly. Let me pull open my DOFs here so you can see what I'm running for those. All right, now currently I've got Tilkreen in there. I'm not using the Borg DOF yet. I'm running Tilkreen in there because I do a lot of CCA stuff. I'm going to get my hands on a Dilreen here soon so I can get that extra little boost. But I'm running the Emergency Con Officer, which is a complement to the emergency powered engines. Basically, it removes the cooldown off my evasive maneuvers. And this one is no longer attainable. You had to have gotten it back in the day when they ran, I think it was the first Mirror Universe, or not the first Mirror, the first Crystal Entity event, I believe it was. If I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. But it's an older DOF that turned out to be quite a useful DOF with all the slow ships we have out there nowadays. Then, of course, I'm running 2 Deflector Officers to reduce the cooldowns on all my Deflector abilities yet again, to keep that stuff global cooldown. And since I had 2 spots left over, not really using a whole lot of tactical stuff, I decided to go with the improved hazard emitters Hakiv. And then I'm testing this one out. This one is Tannen. He has a 50% chance to reduce the remaining cooldown on your exotic damage abilities by 10 seconds. And that's all exotic damage abilities anytime you activate a Gravity Well or a Tychon's Rift. And since I can probably pull off 4 or 5 Gravity Wells in an ISA run, anytime I activate it, it's a 50% chance that it will reduce all my exotic abilities by 10 seconds. I'm testing it out. It seems to work okay so far, but I'm still on the fence about it. But yeah, that's the build right there. All the good information, the cool stuff. I'm going to play the ISA run for you right now. And then after that, we'll go through the damage breakdown of the actual run itself, look at the combat log meter, and show you that we can break 100k in a pug run with a science toon in a science boat. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you right after this little segment. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see there, a really good pug run for ISA, breaking 104k with the Nautilus class. It's yeah, it's a really good boat. I like it. It does some really cool stuff. It's not as science heavy as I would like, but it's not bad. And looking at the DPS chart, you can see that it broke some pretty high records there. Some really big spikes there. Some nice damage spikes on the chart there. As you can see, I'm the light blue. Well over 600k on that spike there. That's a pretty good spike. It's got some potential for burst. It's got some potential for sustained DPS. It does decent. So let's look at the combat analysis report and show you guys the various DPS damagers and what they're doing. So as you can see here, my top DPS, I mean the top 7 are all exotic damage. I mean it's there. It's exotic. There's no beam weapon, fire at will doing massive damage. I mean, let's scroll down here to the beam. I mean, you can see the fire at will did 3 grand. I mean, it's not there for the damage. It's there for the extra oomph, the proccing of, you know, the different abilities like the Entropic Rider, all of the triggers for my exotic damage boosts. I mean, as you can see, it's relatively nice. I mean, it does some pretty good stuff. So yeah, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The 104k Nautilus class with a science toon in a pug run. That's right. None of these guys are anybody I know. You saw the queue up. You saw me throw it in there. So yeah, that's a nice little build. So if you guys have any questions or comments, or you just want to chat it up, throw some comments down below in the video. And as always, I am DarthProtius. If you liked the video, smack the like button. If you want to help others out and spread this build around so that more science can be available to everyone, then share it on social media, share it with your friends. Let everybody know that we've got this build out there so they can take a look at it and use it as they see fit. But you guys have a trick day, and I'm out.